So what are you saying, people? It's another episode of The Social Worker and the Mentor. Hey, listen, big up to Rob. Big up to Rob, yeah? Big up to my brother Rob. Doing big things. Guys, listen, yeah. All I'm going to say is, yeah, you lot are actually liking, subscribing. I'm loving it. But you still, listen, keep sharing, keep liking, keep subscribing. You know where to find myself and Rob. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. We're soon going to be on Apple. We've got so much things that are happening for the rest of this year. But like I said, any guests you want to come on, and also the panel, if you want to come on, just email thesocialworkerandmentor@gmail.com. Right. So people, yeah, see the guest on my left? Now, you know it's me. You know it's overdue, innit?
Listen,
Is it?
way overdue.
This guest is way overdue, like way
I'm almost
overdue.
offended, like I'm
Literally,
a little bit offended.
Like you're worse than Irene, Irene took 3, you've been like 5 years, isn't it? Trust me, yeah. But listen, yeah, this guest here, yeah, we met in the pandemic, yeah. So, and to be honest with you, like, I loved the work that you were doing. A lot of the videos, your journey. But listen, before we even get into that, introduce yourself, please.
Hello, beautiful people. So my name is Nadine Boyne. I am the founder of a platform called Social Work Discovery. I'm a social worker by profession. I've gone all the way up into senior management, and yeah, I'm really excited to be here to get into this conversation.
Listen, I'm gassed, because listen, all I'm gonna say is, yeah, Nadine's got a lot to say, and I'm gassed. I'm actually gassed to hear, yeah.
Let's go.
So, just Nadine, like, talk me through Social Work Discovery.
Yeah.
Where did it come from?
Okay, so if I go back a little bit, so I've been in social work for over 20 years, right? But qualified for probably about going on 14 years-ish. So I was always really ambitious, kind of decided that, you have to go up the ladder, and, did that. So went from being a practitioner to a manager to IRO, kind of QA, and then went up, changed local authorities, and then went up into senior management. That was my first time. I went for this role as an interim. So I went for the principal social worker role as an interim role, right? And I didn't really understand this role. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah.
Made the application, wanted to have conversations with the outgoing principal social worker, but that didn't quite work. Just diaries and, crazy busyness and stuff. So went for this role. Had the director call me and told me that I got it, right? The way that I called my friend and I said, you know what, meet me on the second floor toilet.
It's gas, isn't it?
Like, meet me on the second floor toilet. The way I screamed down the building, I swear to you, the way I screamed it down.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, so people outside, when we came out the bathrooms, they were like, are them little right? Like, are they good? However, shortly after that, the rumour mill goes around.
Yeah.
And then it's...
people talk.
Then it was she got that job because she's black. And it was
swear.
then like...
Do you know what? I didn't even... You know what? I'm actually surprised, innit? But nah, innit? I should be surprised. Go on, innit? Go on.
She got that job because she's black. And I was like, raw. Okay. All right. Well, okay. So then it was like, don't piss me off. Like, it is like, I earned this.
You earned it, yeah.
And then it was, okay, well, I'll just prove to everybody, right? I proved to everybody I can do this role, etc. I didn't get as much support as I wanted to. There was, as I said, there was politics with a big P and a little p. So it was tough. On top of that, I was going through personal life stuff. So I was separating from my then husband. And it was just a lot of stuff. And as someone who's a perfectionist, I was very much like, I'm failing at everything. So I was just kind of on this spiral of, I don't know what I should be doing. I'm falling out of love with social work. I don't know what I should be doing. I wanted to make an impact, but it feels like I'm just kind of behind a computer doing keyboard wars. I'm making decisions which somewhat feel like they're being impactful, but they're grating. Some of the decisions are grating against my values.
It's not aligning with who
and
you
I was
are
like,
with your practice.
yeah. And it just got to a point where I was just like, you know what? I feel like I'm kind of done. So left that local authority, went to another one, went into specifically around professional development.
Yeah.
So that's my sweet spot in social work. Like, I love supporting the next generation of practitioners coming through, all of the routes into social work, as well as the alternatively qualified workers who are in like the PA stroke family support stroke, all those alternative posts and stuff. So that's my absolute sweet spot in social work. And then, but at that same time, because I'd kind of gone through this space of, I'm sick and tired of social work. It's just relentless and it feels like it's a thankless profession, although we get to do amazing work.
Yeah.
But, you know, anybody out there, you say you're a social worker and they're like, ooh, and then they push their kids behind them.
All right, cool, innit? Yeah, no, but it's true though, innit? No. Facts though, facts. No, it's true though, it's true.
Their kids start getting worried that, she's going to start judging me and all of this.
No,
and
it's
not
true,
even that. But yeah, so I got to a point where I was like, you know what, let me just kind of get to know who I am as an individual again. So I went on this really intense and intentional journey of self-rediscovery. I designed my life. I really plowed into myself and personal development. And then when I designed my life, I was like, my life don't look like London. It don't look like London. So when I got the opportunity, it was the height of the pandemic, and I was like, I'm out. So I picked up myself, put my flat up for sale, up for rent. And I moved to St. Lucia.
You're discovering yourself.
I went and discovered myself. I redesigned my life, all of that. And then I went to St. Lucia. So I was in St. Lucia for about 2.5 years. And it was beautiful being around people that looked like me and palm trees. Like, that was just life.
Whilst absorbing the melanin as well, getting that vitamin D from the sun and everything. Yeah.
I felt like I was healing. Yeah. I felt like I was nourished. And then due to a number of different circumstances, I had to come back to London. Like, that's the first thing most people say. Like, you was in St. Lucia for 2.5 years? Yeah. Why'd you come back? I was like, long. But yeah, I mean, essentially it was just around kind of just finances and things like that. So I came back to the UK, and I actually really wanted to know what social work looked like on the ground post-pandemic. So I went back into a kind of workforce training and development role, and was in a really awesome job. I absolutely loved it, and then got opportunities to go to other spaces to where I am now. And it's just, there's something about social work being an awesome profession, but it is relentless. And part of the reason, when I was in St. Lucia and I was kind of in that space of, let me think about what it is I wanted to do, at that point I was kind of done with social work, but the universe was like, no, that's you. So everything kind of was coming up, was bringing me straight back to social work.
Yeah.
So I set up Social Work Discovery because I wanted a platform for social workers to do the personal development stuff. So the same way that I had done my journey, I designed my life, I'd got to know me in terms of my values, the way that I like to communicate, the way that I behave, like all of that kind of stuff about me as an individual. I think it's really important that social workers do that.
And we don't do enough of that because of the work.
We don't. And to know to the fact of, you know, I was always an assessment and access and an assessment social worker. So I like short-term work. I am not a long-term social worker. Although genuinely, I think that's where most of the good social workers done. Don't judge me if you're going to start digging me in my neck.
You kind of like do the assessments.
And it's kind of pass it on
to the long-term team, yeah.
Absolutely. So I know that I'm a short-term social worker, but I knew that even as a practitioner through to being a manager in that service, I lived with a level of anxiety that was just really high. And having done a lot of personal development work, I now know it's because I'm a person who likes to have a lot of information to feel confident I'm making the right decision. Because making the right decision to me is very, very, very important.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask lots of questions in order to get that. Now, you know, when you're out and you're doing a Section 47 or you're doing an assessment with a family and you've just got to do everything quick and you may not get every piece of information that you could possibly need.
Yeah.
So I'm having to make decisions based on what I've gathered or my staff have gathered, and it doesn't feel like a full picture, but I have to make a decision based on the information I have.
It's very fast paced.
Right. So for me, as a human being, I know that that's a problem because I like a lot of information so I can feel confident I'm making the right decision.
But
so
in
access,
but in long term would have suited you better then.
Probably.
Because you've got the time.
Probably. But I didn't like long term. I didn't like it.
No, I hear it.
But I did live with a level of anxiety. But what it then helped me to understand that. So when I then went to be in an IRO an IRO and a CP
You
chair,
don't case hold.
I felt like I was on holiday.
Yeah, because you don't case manage.
I don't case manage, but also I get all the information in beforehand.
Yeah.
So I can read it, I can review it, I can then kind of think about it in my mind, and then I can then go into these meetings feeling like I'm informed and then hear what's going on in the room and all of that.
Yeah.
So the way that my brain works, my brain loves that. So it just then made me feel like, that's why I felt like I was on holiday doing that role.
Yeah.
And it's only because I kind of went on this journey of really understanding myself, I could then make the links as to why I was so anxious and kind of like, in that role versus that role where I was like, this feels like I'm on holiday type thing.
Because the team manager post, I should know, I'm done. Because the TM post is hard.
It's a lot.
It is hard.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've kind of seen is that I've seen that a lot of team managers, they will pivot and go into become a CP chair.
Yeah.
Or become an IRO. Because they're like, you know what, I've done it. I don't want to manage the risk.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is. And I think that team managers have to, you're the sandwich, the bit in between, isn't it? So you're getting the pressure from, you're trying to protect your staff.
Social workers, and then you got senior management on you like that.
Absolutely.
It's true.
And then it's just like, I mean, where I was previously, when I kind of became a team manager, we didn't have, I want to say it was called dispensation. I can't remember what the actual official term was, but we didn't have timescales in Access. So as much as it was, the work was a lot, we didn't have necessarily the kind of, oh, your stuff is red, oh, your stuff is yellow, this is due next week. Like, we didn't have that.
Yeah.
So when I went into my new local authority, it was all that.
Yeah.
And I was like,
getting the weekly reports.
I was like, what's this?
Your visits due. Yeah.
This is a next level of pressure that I hadn't had before. And it's not like the work was different.
Yeah.
Because I was able to still get through all of that work. Yeah. But when you came into the new local authority, I was like, oh, wow.
It's the numbers, it's the stats.
I was like, KPIs are a lot here.
Yeah.
And I was a bit of a rebel. So I was just like, yeah, how about no?
And then we're senior management emailing them to go and say, well, Nadine, what's going on? Why is it not? Yeah.
You know what? There was times when my service manager used to email me. If he ever watches this. There's times when my service manager used to email me and ask me like all of these, like it was just a lot, and they just got ignored. Like, I'm just not even
I'm not interested.
It's just like the work will get done.
Yeah.
But what I did pride myself is that I didn't have my team did not have a high referral rate at all. Because if you need to take the longer time to get the work done, then do that. Don't worry about the red or the amber or the things that are jumping up, and people are going to start jumping up at you. So long as you can give me confidence that you've got it, and you can give me a time scale, and I know that you're doing great work with this family, or you know that you're doing great work with this family, don't worry about it. I got you. When it comes to people, then you're on your neck. Don't worry about it. I got you. That's the team manager that I was.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot. It was such a lot. And so when I then went for this PSW role, I was like, okay, let me go and do something. This is my first senior management role. This was kind of going into the strategic side. I thought, you know what, let me just try a thing. It was interim. So it felt like that was a bit less, what's the word?
Pressurizing.
So it was interim. I was going to get the support and the kind of guidance and mentorship. Not much of that happened, but I still learned a lot. And I did enjoy it. I don't regret any of it because it certainly brought me on my journey. But it was tough. It was so tough.
So when did you decide that actually, you know what? You see this local authority thing? It's long. I'm not here for it.
Oh, boy. You know what? And I know this may sound cliche and a lot of people may be like, oh, okay, here we go. Somebody else saying the same thing. But because I had separated from my then husband, I needed to think, what is going on? So I started reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right?
Everyone's...
I know.
You know what?
I know.
I got the book as well, you know. I actually need to finish it as well. Yeah.
I know. And I know a lot of people are like, yeah, I read this book.
Yeah.
But genuinely, I remember parking my car and then having to walk down to the local authority, right? Which is probably about a 20-minute walk. And that was me getting my steps in as well. And so I was doing that back and forth. And I was listening to this book on the way. And it just helped me to change my mindset. It helped me to go from, you know, the security of a role to exploring opportunities of not necessarily being confined to an organization.
You're pivoting.
It opens my mind. And I'd never been agency before that. So I then went agency and thought, why did I do this before?
No, I hear what you're saying, you know, because, and that's the thing. I think Nadine is good you're saying it, because I think a lot of social workers at the moment right now, even what I'm trying to say to a lot of social workers that I'm mentoring and students, that it's not just LA local authority,
Mm.
you can actually pivot out with the social work degree
Mm-hmm.
and choose to do something that you want to do, because I understand that working in a local authority, it can be very, very pressurizing, particularly if you move from LA to LA to LA to LA,
Yeah.
and you kind of feel as though, you know what, that pressure's still there.
Yeah.
But you made that jump to this pivot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I went agency. I did a job that I loved. And then I got the opportunity to just kind of be in St. Lucia and just re-nourish myself and then come back. And interestingly, like when I did come back, I went to jobs that I liked. So it's all around professional development, training. And I'm sure people see my CV and are like, why is she applying for this role? But I'm not trying to give myself stress. I want to make an impact for the newbies coming through.
Yeah.
But I also need the headspace to do stuff around social work discovery, to do stuff around my book that I'm writing.
Listen, plug the book, man. Nah, you can't just name topic. Nah. Talk with the book. What's going on with the book?
Right. So I had this idea to write a book before I left to go to St. Lucia. So we're talking around 2021. And so I was like, okay, let me write a book. Initially, I thought it was going to be something to do with new social workers, newly qualified students. And then kind of as my journey has come along, I've now thought to myself and thought, no, it's about the personal journey of the social worker, essentially. And I went through lots of kind of coaching and invested in myself to kind of learn about how to write a book. And they always spoke about having a really powerful title for your book. And I remember having conversations with other social workers when I was in the thick of it, when I was getting burnt out and all of that, and say, you know, this job at times just feels like self-harm because it's like relentless.
Can you run that back? No, Nadine, no. Nadine, you need to run that back. Guys, you hearing that?
So I did. And the thing is, I would say to people, this job feels like it's just self-harm. And the amount of times people would be like, exactly, it's exactly that. So I thought, well, that's the name of the book then. Social work is not self-harm. And I thought that needs to be the name of the book.
That's powerful, yeah.
That needs to be the name of the book, because I think that any social worker walking past that book on the shelf will be like,
they're going to... What?
See what I said there.
No, but that's eye-catching though.
Absolutely.
It is.
Absolutely. So I thought it needs to be, that's going to be the name of the book. And I started talking to people around me and they were like, no, Nadine, you can't do that. You can't call it that. And I was like, why? And they were like, no, I don't like it. Don't do that. And then so I just a bit like, okay, cool. And then I just put it on pause. And then last year I went to it. That's another thing we need to talk about. Last year I went to a book launch.
Yeah.
And then I was like inspired again to be like, you know what, Nadine, you actually need to get this book done. And then I came back to the name again and I was like, you know what? I feel that with my chest. So you know what? That's the name of the book.
You have to stand on it.
Even if it changes and it's a working title at the moment.
Yeah.
But Social Work is Not Self-Harm is a book about helping social workers to go from their personal awareness to their professional excellence, because you can't get there unless you know who you are as an individual, as a human. So it's taking you along that journey to really understand yourself, to create what you want out of life and not allow social work to kind of overshadow your whole identity. Because I remember, you know, being a team manager and you know the work is relentless, right?
Yeah.
So you're then like, so I remember being in my personal time and saying to people, oh, I just need to write this email. Oh, I just need to sign off this assessment.
Yeah.
Oh, I just need to respond to this person.
Yeah.
Oh, I just need to, and it's always the just.
Yeah.
And just could then have you there for 2 hours.
Or give me 5 minutes. Yeah, give me 5 minutes. Oh, I'll get back to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of them ones there.
It's
all
true.
of that. And it was always this just thing. And I just thought, you know, that's evenings, that's weekends, that's lunch break, what's that?
Yeah.
But then annual
that?
leave.
Yeah.
Annual leave. I remember going on holiday with my friend and I brought my work iPad with me. And she was like, have you actually got your work iPad? And I was like, yeah, I just need to. Again, right?
Yeah.
I just need to. And she took it from me. And at that point, seriously, Nana, I felt like I was ready to bawl. Because I was just like, no, seriously, I just need to do. And she's looking at me like, are you all right?
But Nadine, do you know what it is with this job here? This is the thing about being a social worker. I think as much criticism as we get as a profession, it's a selfless profession. And there's that element of guilt. If I don't send this referral off, I don't respond. What's going to happen to that child or the mother or the father or that family or the case.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And we have this, I think I always say it, we've got this kind of default button whereby actually we can't switch off,
Yeah.
or we don't know how to
Yeah.
switch off, because then you may get back in after annual leave. Nadine, Nana, something's happened
Yeah.
on your cases. Did you send that referral before you left?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. Why didn't you go and say? It's always that.
Yeah.
So innately, we've got that kind of, I just need to,
Yeah.
just need to, yeah, it's true. I think it's just a default social position. If I don't do this or something happens, I'm going to feel guilty.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when I was training, and I had an awesome manager. I did a placement in the youth offending service, and my manager there, my on-site supervisor, he was awesome. And I remember him saying to me, you know, this job, there is something about the need to always cover your tush. And I was like, yeah. And I had a young person die or was murdered while I was on placement.
Wow.
And I remember hearing the news and, you know, feeling all of the feelings, because I remember having a conversation with her and saying, you know, I'm worried for your safety type thing. And she was like, no. So anyways, she was murdered. And then all of the senior managers, it wasn't about, oh, Nadine, how are you? It was, have you done this? Have you done that? Have you done this? Have you done that? Have you done this? I can't remember what the phrase is, but the file gets locked down.
It gets locked, yeah.
And then it's like, have you done this? Have you done that? And I was like, and I remember writing an essay for my final, I want to say it was my final, I don't know, one of the last essays I did for uni. And I mentioned about how it's so crazy that I'm here making sure that I'm covering my tush, as opposed to really feeling the feelings of, my young person has been murdered. And I went to the funeral, and her dad, me and her dad were cool. And yeah, it was a lot. But I just thought, where's the humanity in this? It was tough.
Do you think that in social work we've lost that? I know it's a deep question, but do you feel in, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I feel in social work at times, it's very, very important that I say this, because I did a couple episodes ago with two senior leaders. And one of the things obviously we always hear in social work is that actually behind every percentage there's a child behind that. And I agree, absolutely. There's a family. My thing for me is that behind every social work registration, there's a person behind the social worker. And I feel as though the issue that I have, and I have a lot when I've worked in local authorities, is that I think we are losing the human kind of empathy with our social workers and our students and our staff. Because I think there is a big push and drive for us to get the work done. That we actually forget the impact it actually has on that worker.
Agreed.
Do you know what I mean? And their own families or their own personal circumstances. Like I'm all for getting the work done, but my thing is that we as social workers, we can't perform and be 100% if within local authority settings, we don't have our leaders and colleagues and managers who don't understand that actually, you know what, I'm at very, very limited capacity with what I can do. You know, I've had social workers in teams that I've worked with and that I've managed, where, you know, my AP, I remember one time she was telling me how she logs on 2, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and her son is sleeping, or sometimes she doesn't have time for her son, or maybe an hour or so because she's putting her son to bed. And for me as a manager, it's like, can I really sit back and let social workers grind themselves down because things need to get done? Or can I actually be firm with senior leaders and say, hang on a second, you know, the social workers are getting really, really pushed. I know things need to get done, but they are sacrificing a lot of their own time or even withdrawing their annual leave to get things that I know needs to get done. But there's a person behind that social worker. The same way that there's people behind, there's families behind percentages, there are people behind the social work registration.
Agreed.
And there's people behind our title. We have to have empathy around that. And for me, one thing I don't like is I don't like managers or leaders who don't understand that.
Yeah.
That's my biggest gripe.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But go on, Nadine. No, but what you're saying is true.
But you know what? I don't even know if they think it's. I think they get it. I don't even want to say they don't care. I think it's just the KPI thing. I remember there were conversations about what needs to change, and I think we need KPIs for retention, social worker well-being, your workforce well-being.
Ooh.
Like, let's have a KPI for that.
Hey. You see your camera there, yeah? Can you repeat that in the camera, please?
Can we have a KPI for well-being and retention, recruitment? Then, because that's the only way.
No, facts.
That's the only way
Facts.
that people are going to demonstrate that they even care.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, even down to, I know we're not necessarily talking about the whole agency versus perm thing, but when I was in St. Lucia when the whole London Pledge thing started coming out and all of that. And I thought to myself, but wait, you're now going to penalise people for wanting to go agency rather than fixing the local authorities that could make them more attractive for people to stay there. Like, it's like you're forcing people to stay in situations where they may not necessarily be happy, but you're not fixing that environment. So I'm just a bit like, come on, social work, man. We need to do things different. And since coming back to the UK, it feels like it's this whole thing about doing the same thing over and over, expecting something different. That's insanity, right?
Yeah.
They call that insanity. So I think there's something about KPIs changing. Don't shoot me, but I'm all for the introduction of AI. Not necessarily around decision making for families. Don't get me wrong. I know we've got a long way in terms of
how we're going and where we're going.
Like ethics and all of that, 100%. But every social worker needs a VA. And I'm saying that with my chest. Every social worker needs a virtual assistant. And that is technology we have right now.
Yeah.
You can come out of a visit or come out of a meeting, just talk to your phone, tell the phone, I've come out of this visit and this is what's happened and blah, blah, blah. And then by the time you're back at the office, there is a version of that on your computer. You then put that onto you look at it, obviously,
it's working smart.
You then put that onto your case note. Your KPIs are perfect.
Yeah.
So when your KPIs are perfect, what are you measuring?
Yeah, it's true. But I think the KPI thing, what you said, Nadine, about well-being and retention, I actually think that's quite powerful what you said. I actually think we do need that. I think because the profession right now at the moment, we are in crisis.
Yeah.
We are, and it's impacted upon the children, young people and families, decisions that we're making. We're in crisis.
Yeah.
We do need that.
I agree.
We do.
I think once we are able to have the technology that's going to enable us to do the paperwork, the bureaucracy, which everyone complains about, I actually think it will make social work more human.
No, I agree.
And then I think the whole Ofsted inspection thing is going to completely change. And again, KPIs are going to have to change because when everything looks perfect on the system, because you have the tech that's going to enable you to put the information on there, then it is going to, I think it's going to humanize because it's going to give people more time to be out there with the families.
And do the direct work.
And do the work.
Yeah.
But then also Ofsted's going to have to come in and observe and consider impact. Not just, that visit was done on time and, those meetings were done within time scale. No, those things they disappear.
No, I hear you.
It's like, what is the actual work that we're getting to do?
Yeah, I hear it.
So, yeah.
I hear it. What I wanted to also speak to you about was Barley.
Okay.
Yeah. Talk to me about the Barley initiative.
Sure.
Yeah.
I smile because I'm a graduate of Barley. So I did Barley in 2019. And I think it was, not even I think, so Barley is the Black and Asian Leadership Initiative.
Yeah.
It is run by the Staff College, and the Staff College is an organisation that runs leadership programmes across the public sector. So not just social work, but across the whole of the public sector. So I went on to Barley as I was a new senior leader, and I went, and it was incredibly powerful for me. Not only because I was in a room of people that looked like me, I was learning, I don't even want to say, some of it was new information. A lot of it was confirmationary for me in terms of the barriers, the challenges
that we
the black
face
tax.
Trying to progress up through the chain.
Right. So some of it was like, so it's not just me.
It's not just me. Yeah.
This is a thing.
Thing.
This is the
That's
system
happening.
doing the system thing.
In terms of career progression.
Absolutely. So, but honestly, I came out of Barley with a lot more questions than answers. So for me, I had 3 main learning things having done Barley. So the first one was I didn't want to be a director of children's services. So I was like, I don't want to go no higher than I am now. The second one was I needed to start journaling, like really getting my thoughts onto paper to kind of begin to process them better. And the last one was that I needed to start learning. I needed to increase my knowledge and skills, because at that point I wasn't doing anything apart from the social working. So those were my 3 outcomes. And then, you know, I then went on this journey, and then I became an associate of the Staff College. And
which
then
is brilliant, fantastic.
a co-facilitator of the same program that was phenomenal to me. I say for me, Barley was like a really soft gong. So it was like a starting point that wasn't like a really fast start. It wasn't like, you know, you're lining up on the race and then you hear and then you're running really fast. It wasn't that. It was like a really soft gong that gave me a lot more questions than answers, but it sent me on the journey.
Yeah.
And so it led me to make decisions about moving and healing and understanding that this system is big. And the system is not broken. The system is doing what the system is designed to do. So it's a case of, from a justice point, of course it's broken, but actually for what the system is designed to do, it's doing it perfectly. So there's something about us being really intentional about not acknowledging the system, but then also being intentional about our actions so that we are able to kind of combat it, to work against it, and all of that stuff. So yeah, Barley is it's a 3-day course, or you might get on a 4-day one, because we're just having a 4-day one.
Do you know what? I need to get onto it. I actually need to get onto it. Barley, I do, because, you know, particularly obviously, you know, what it actually stands for as well, and knowing about progression, where I'm trying to get to into my trajectory, I need to get onto Barley.
Yeah.
I do need to get onto it as well.
Yeah.
But for you, was it inspiring just seeing other leaders? Was it made up of, was it directors? Was it managers? Was it social workers?
So in my cohort, there were mainly, I would say, service managers, team managers and service managers that were there. Because then when you want to go into like director kind of levels, then there are different courses. So they've got the Aspiring DCS program. I don't know if it's still called that.
Yeah.
But I think they've got that kind of program as well. But for me, it was empowering being in a room of people that looked like me, having shared experiences that let me know that I wasn't crazy. It wasn't
what you're feeling.
Yeah, like I'm not like oversensitive, or, you know, you feel those microaggressions that don't feel so micro, and you're like,
yeah, no, what I'm feeling is what I'm feeling. Is warranted. Yeah,
absolutely. So, and knowing that it is a thing.
Yeah.
So it was really, really powerful. And as I said, I came out with so much more questions than answers, but it started me off on this really beautiful journey that led me to St. Lucia, to come back, to writing this book, to now thinking of, you know, creating an organisation that not only trains social workers in I don't even want to say a completely different way. I think there's something about creating a alternative to the system that is about understanding ancestral wisdom, so of our forefathers from all around the world. So it's not just about the Western way, and combining that with tech. And let's do social work like that. And that's what my big mission is. I kind of spoke about it a couple of years ago and put it on my social media.
I want to ask you a question, yeah.
Okay.
Before we wrap up, but I want to ask a question. So the bit in the beginning, you spoke about personal development, the fact that, you know, you mentor social workers, students, you want them to be the best out of themselves. And you spoke a lot about them knowing who they are. Now, authenticity in social work for me is massive. But I find that because we are working in a corporate setting, we're not always allowed to be our authentic selves.
What?
So allowed. Yeah, I'm using that word.
Don't need permission.
Allowed. But this is what I wanted to ask you, yeah, because you know I was going to ask you this question, innit? Yeah. What's your take? Because you see me, yeah, when I go to local authorities, I'm me. I'm me. I'm literally me. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm me. I'm chilled. I'm relaxed. I talk to everybody. Do you know what I mean? But even like as a black male, the whole kind of thing having to like code switch as well. What's your take on it? And you need to be real, Nadine, yeah? Because I know we talk on the phone, yeah? But you need to be real on this, yeah?
Mate, okay. So prior to St. Lucia,
Yeah.
I would say that I was completely conforming. I would say that I didn't know myself incredibly well. And when people used to talk about being authentic, I genuinely didn't know what that really meant for me.
Yeah.
Post coming back, doing all of my kind of ongoing work around personal development, I think that I'm more confident, and I think it may be about confidence as well.
Yeah.
There's something about being myself when I walk into wherever I go. So for me, it even is down to the application form. So now when I make an application form, before I even start talking about all of the expectations and the criteria that they want, I'm telling you my story. So my thing is let me tell you my story.
Yeah.
Then I'll tell you how I can do this job.
Yeah.
If you want to interview me on the basis of that, cool. Because I know that I can turn up as me when I walk in because I've already told you my story.
Yeah.
If I interview, I'm going to be me. And I'm going to then ask you questions. I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking. Like the last interview I did, I started talking to them about AI. Yeah, it was a bit like, oh, this is kind of interesting. You know, it's still a bit of a dirty word in social work. It is. But it's just like, but it is a thing of I'm going to be myself.
Yeah.
Because my thing is that now I feel like I'm beyond the stage of feeling like I need to conform. So I'm going to be me at every stage.
Yeah.
Because if you give me the job, that means I have full permission to be me when I turn up in your office.
100.
Because if I don't do that, then it means that I've got to somewhat do the code switching or
and
do the professionalism, whatever that means, when I walk into your local authority. But if I'm me from the application form, if you want to interview me on the basis of that, cool.
Yeah.
If from the time when you are giving me permission from the time you're giving me that job, you're seeing me.
Yeah.
You're seeing me 100%. If you don't want to shortlist me, if you don't want to give me the job, that's okay, because I know I can't be me where you are.
Yeah.
And that wasn't a job for me.
Yeah.
100%. That's kind of how I feel about it.
I agree, because I think sometimes we get into this thing where it's like people, when you're yourself, people are like, oh, the way you talk and it's like, yeah, but I'm still professional. Do you know what I mean? I'm just like, I keep saying to every social worker, you can only be you.
Yeah.
Like I practice the way I practice. And sometimes, Nadine, I'll be honest with you, sometimes I don't get criticism, but sometimes people are like, oh, what happened last time? I can't remember what happened last time. But sometimes people are like, Nana's a bit more different. It's like, yeah, because I don't manage how you manage. Like, do you know what I mean? Like how I am with my team, it's not how you are with your team. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think it's great what you said. I think for social workers, be your authentic selves. Even when you're working your cases. Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes that actually works. Be authentic, be real. Do you know what I mean? No, but I'm glad you said that though. I'm glad you said that.
But I also think the system at the moment, or the way at the moment, is not okay. People are mashing themselves up in this job. And so it's a case of, we need something different. We need difference to come in to be able to combat the nonsense that is going on at the moment.
Exactly.
And so whatever professional is supposed to look like, then I think it's just about, you know what, let's bring our authentic selves, let's bring our additionality into spaces, because that's what is going to be needed in order to change the face of social work.
100%. Nadine, where can they find you?
So you can find me, oh gosh, you can probably find me everywhere. So I am on LinkedIn, Nadine Boyne. I am on Instagram. Well, it's not really personal, but my page is nadine.klb, which is my last initials. But I also have at Social Work Discovery on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube.
Yes.
I think I even might have a fan base.
No, but guys, all I say to you guys is this, do you know what? I will say to social workers and to students, the taking that you need to take from what Nadine has said, it's about your personal journey. I think it's very, very important. I think in social work, we're kind of trapped in this conveyor belt kind of system.
Yeah.
And we kind of lose ourselves. So I think for any of you on your journey,
100%.
Please make sure that you work on yourself. And I'll advise any one of you also as well, just link up with Nadine.
100%. If you're thinking about setting a really good foundation, because genuinely, when I'm doing coaching, the majority of people that I coach are people who are experienced, who are at a place where they're like, I'm done with this job and I just don't know what to do next.
Yeah.
But actually, if we can help you when you are in setting the foundations of your career, I think that is going to be awesome. And I don't like this whole idea of, you know, people being told that they're not resilient enough if they're actually saying no to the nonsense of social work at times. Because I just think the job is unmanageable, or it can be unmanageable at times. So when and it's important that you say, actually, I'm feeling overwhelmed, or I'm feeling challenged, or actually I need a bit more stretch. But have the conversations, because it's important, because I don't like this indoctrination into a system that is just relentless. And there's also kind of just one thing to just finish on. There's a quote, and I forget who the person who said it was, but there's the person said, it's no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. And I think that it is no measure of how good of a social worker you are if you are well adjusted to a system that is there that's just going to mash you up. So I think there's something about being your authentic self, you know, having the conversations about when things are great, when things are challenging. You know, we all want the stretch. We all want the stretch to be able to say, this is going to stretch me for learning, but not to the point where you're about to snap. So self-care, look after yourselves. There are some phenomenal people in the well-being self-care space.
There are.
Check in with them. Holler me.
Listen, make sure you holler. Yeah, honestly, because everything that you're saying, I actually agree. You have to make sure you take care of yourself
100%.
in this job role. But you know what? Before I finish up, you see the whole thing you mentioned, about KPIs for retention and what do you say, well-being. I think, do you know what? I think you got something going there, you know. I actually think there should be KPIs for retention, for well-being and recruitment. Actually, we should be doing Yeah. But guys, listen, Nadine, sis, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. Well overdue, but I'm glad you're on this podcast. You've come on today. And guys, you know where to find myself and Rob. You know, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. You like, subscribe, and share. But anyway, we'll see you soon, guys. Yeah.
Yes.
Take care, guys.